Welcome to the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship here from Oulton Park. You join me now as the drivers go out for the first race. Currently we have John Langridge in second position, who's only 6 points behind the championship leader, Will Blackwell-Chambers. Ollie Allwood starts in pole position for the race one. It's over to you, Andy, to see how the action unfolds.
Thanks, Mike. Well, here we go then. The first of 3 races today for Group A at Oulton Park sees Ollie Allwood on pole position with John Langridge alongside Joe Wiggin on row 2 ahead of Adam Bessel, then Matt Luff and Matt Pollard with championship leader Blackwell-Chambers down in 7th on the grid alongside Steve Foden. Martin Tolley's on row 5 with Ben Short, another to watch for moving forward. Then Jack Brewer and Jason Greatrex, who is leading the Masters Championship, arriving here in the northwest. Another big grid of cars then for the first of 6 races today, actually, because it's a single day meeting. We have all 3 A and B races on the same day here at Oulton, so it's going to be a long day, but a sunny day. The weather is very, very pleasant this afternoon, and the big crowd on hand, I'm sure, are set to enjoy this scrap. So Ollie Allwood then on pole position alongside of John Langridge, who is 2 points behind Will Blackwell-Chambers in the championship. So in other words, if Langridge beats Blackwell-Chambers by more than 1 position in this race, he will take over the points lead. Will he be able to do it though? That's the question. But we'll find out in about 20 minutes time, because the race is about to get underway. Allwood on the left, Langridge the grey car on the right. The lights go out, away we go. We're racing at Oulton Park, and it's a good start made by Joe Wiggin from the inside of row number 2, who will try and go between both of the front row men and will do so. I think he's certainly passed Langridge, goes to the outside of Ollie Allwood though, but Allwood hangs on to the race lead, and Ollie looking for his first win of the year. Oh, contact there, Martin Tolley is sideways. 1 or 2 take to the grass in avoidance. Tolley saves the car, but loses lots of momentum on the run down the avenue, and that will cost him plenty of positions. Down to Cascades now for the first time. 1 or 2 taking some slightly wayward lines through the right-hand kink at Denton's at the top of the hill. Ben Hansey there trying to go around the outside of Marcus Bailey. That won't work as they head out of Cascade now down the Lakeside Straight on board with Martin Tolley looking back at Marcus Bailey now. We're on the full international circuit this weekend at Oulton Park, so we get to enjoy the Oulton Park circuit in all of its majesty through the really quick left-hander at Ireland into the breaking point at the Shell hairpin. This tight banked right-hander where Ollie Allwood leads the pack from Wiggin and then Adam Bessel. So unfortunately Langridge has rather gone backwards here. He's still ahead of his big championship rival Will Blackwell-Chambers, but Joe Wiggin mathematically could still get himself into this title race, but he needs a few more race victories. He's going the right way about it now though. He's been taking no prisoners all year, and he proved that again there at the start of this race to burst through from the second row of the grid into second place at the start. Down the hill they go then into the Hislop chicane. Jack Brewer there going up the inside of Jason Greatrex, takes the position. Hard, surprisingly hard place anyway to overtake into the Hislop chicane, but that was a perfectly judged example of how to do it. Martin Tolley trying to now take advantage of that and get back ahead of the 2 cars that he did out-qualify, but that moment at the first corner means that he's a bit further down the order than he'd like to be. Over the hill then, this roller coaster circuit at Oulton Park. It's a surprisingly high-speed track, Oulton, so the slipstream that these cars produce should keep the pack relatively well bunched together. However, overtaking opportunities are few and far between. This is one of the best chances to overtake, down into Lodge. Will Blackwell-Chambers, amongst others, ducking out of line to try and make a move, but actually as they turn into the corner, no one actually is able to gain a position. So the order at the end of the opening lap then will be Allwood leading the way, Wiggin second, third for Bessel. We're on board with John Langridge now from 4th position. So at the moment he would be doing just enough to take over the points lead from Blackwell-Chambers, who is currently 6th, but Langridge once more goes to the inside of Bessel through Old Hall corner, but Adam decisively turns into the corner, defies John Langridge there, keeps him behind. And that actually has the potential to delay Langridge on the exit of the corner. There's a car sideways there, that's Adam Craig with a big moment. Saves it. We're on board with Clive Chisnell running just behind that. Goes up the inside there of the number 50 car going through Denton's. That's Sam Attard making, I believe, his first appearance of the season. Sam on the inside through Cascade, but the momentum sometimes can be around the outside there, and indeed that is enough to allow Clive Chisnell through. Clive only qualified 24th, but he's already making good progress in the early stages of the race. John Langridge up the inside of Adam Bessel, and this time he will make that move stick for 3rd. So Langridge into a podium place now. Bessel slots back in behind him. Then it's Ben Short and Will Blackwell-Chambers. So Ben Short started 10th and is already into the top 5. And Will Blackwell-Chambers gained 1 position. He started 7th. He got ahead of Matt Luff, who has rather slipped down the order. So too Matt Pollard, actually, they're both slipped behind that little group of quick championship contending cars. Over the hill then. Still Wiggin second, but with Langridge now starting to try and close the gap to him. That's Matt Luff behind, trying to duck out of line to make a move. through the chicane, then into Nickelbrook corner, over the hill. Very easy to unsteer out wide on the exit of that turn. Run over the grass, that'll kill your momentum though, because it's a steep uphill climb now. Over Clay Hill, underneath the footpath. Back out into the countryside once again. To Druids. Oh, and Ben Short looking up the inside of Adam Bessel. That's a brave place to overtake, and he makes it stick, and that might just allow Blackwell Chambers through as well. Yes, it will. Blackwell Chambers then going through. Oh, and a big slide there, and a save, is it? Just about, I think it'll be a save. Wow, how on earth did Matt Pollard not end up in the barriers there? That was astonishing stuff. Matt Pollard, the 55 car, with a huge sideways moment through Druids corner. He may have just kissed the barriers on the right-hand side of the road, but that could have been an awful lot worse. Team members cheering their drivers on from the pit wall, but they will have no idea how lucky Matt Pollard is to still be in this race after that huge slide at one of the fastest and most daunting corners on the track. And it's a track full of high speed and daunting corners, this one. That one in particular was very scary, and Matt Pollard, save of the season there, I think, to keep the car going in vaguely the right direction. Back to the Ben Short, Will Blackwell Chambers, Adam Bessel and Steve Foden scrap, four of them pretty much together as they go down the Lakeside Straight. They appear into sight through Island Bend, top three getting away slightly, and this is now significant for Blackwell Chambers because Ben Short and he have both got past Adam Bessel, but they haven't yet been able to escape him and chase up the road after John Langridge. So Langridge has now caught the leading two, but these two still mired a little bit further back than they'd like to be. Ben Short making a welcome return, having not raced with us at Snetterton last time out. That means that realistically his championship hopes are over. You drop your three worst scores, so in an ideal world they would have been Ben Short's three drop scores, but he also had a non-finish, if you remember, back at Cadwell Park, so that means he's had now 4 races in which he's not scored a single point, and that will be enough, unfortunately, to knock him out of championship contention. So realistically it's between this man, Will Blackwell Chambers, and John Langridge, who is currently in 3rd position in the race, 2nd in the championship. Joe Wiggin arrives here at Oulton Park, 56 points off the championship lead, so that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but if he keeps winning races, can at least start to close that gap down a little. And then if Blackwell Chambers and Langridge start running into difficulties in the final few rounds, maybe get a non-finish or two, then it's not beyond the realms of possibility for Wiggin to challenge for the title. But right now, he's got John Langridge up the inside of him into Lodge Corner. Another nice move there by John. Gets to the apex first and turns through ahead, so he's into 2nd place now. That would score him 98 championship points for finishing in 2nd position. He's also got the fastest lap at this stage. That's another bonus point. Well, 2 points, in fact. So if you finish 2nd place with fastest lap, you score 100 points, which is exactly the same amount of points you score for winning the race without fastest lap. So get that fastest lap, it sometimes means that 2nd place is just as valuable as a race win in a way. Just the field cycling through. Ben Hansey there at the head of this little cluster of cars, which we very often see in Mazda MX-5 racing, especially in Oulton Park, it seems. Very few people are ever on their own, and you tend to get these little groups of 5 or 6 cars together with fairly large gaps between the individual packs. So the real battle now for these drivers is to get to the front of this group. Don't forget, we've also got the promotion and relegation system as ever in place. Bottom 5 finishers in this race will be relegated to the B grid for race number 2. So anyone from sort of 20th on backwards could be vulnerable for that, with 26 cars on the grid. John Langridge, well, what happened there? He got a real run all of a sudden on Ollie Allwood and dived to the inside into the Britain chicane. I think I can count on the fingers of one hand the amount of overtakes I've seen into that corner, especially for the race lead. Was that an issue, I wonder, for Allwood? Because he did seem to just suddenly slow down. He's losing 2nd place as well now to Joe Wiggins, so I fear there might be a problem for our early race leader here. Ollie Allwood dramatically slowing there and losing the lead of the race. So Langridge has gone through now, and that means he's on for a maximum points haul. Further back, Ben Hansey has got a lot of pressure from behind, and up the inside line there goes the number 65 car. It's not going to get stopped though for the corner, and so yeah, back through goes Hansey, and in fact, it looks as though Will Hayden's going to lose a few more positions here. The inside now, on the exit of the turn goes David Waters. David Waters trying to take advantage of that loss of momentum. It's a real momentum circuit, this one. If you have a bit of a moment like Will Hayden just had, it can really cost you, but he gets back in line, so only lost 1 position in the end to, I think that's Charles Mugglestone that went through. That could be worse, but in fact David Waters now at the inside of Mugglestone as well, so he's really had a good run. He was trying to get on the inside anyway. Fancy though. Defending hard. Oh, and up the inside now of Mugglestone goes Will Hayden. So Hayden trying to immediately fight back. This is a very lively pack of cars, but shows how difficult it is to run in the middle of a group like this because you're busy attacking and defending at the same time. You can't dedicate 100% of your brain capacity to doing both jobs. Will Hayden in the end does now fall behind David Waters as they go through Old Hall Corner. Craig, I think, is the yellow car at the back of that little queue. When Griffiths there going through, the blue and bronze car a little bit further back still. Will Hayden, unfortunately, is looking like he's rather lost his rhythm now. The AB Motorsport driver could lose more places before too much longer. Hoping that he doesn't know Clive Chisnall, I think, was the next person coming up behind. Meanwhile, with the race leaders, and it's all changed now because Ben Short is into third and Will Blackwell Chambers is into fourth position, and we now do appear to have lost Ollie Allwood. So Ollie Allwood, I think, is either in the pit lane or out of the race altogether. John Langridge sideways out of the Britain chicane. Has that cost him momentum? Yes, it has, and Joe Wiggin needs no second invitation. Drives straight past him, and John Langridge, in the race lead that he worked so hard to take, is now down to second place, but Ben Short's going to try and go around the outside and make that third. No, can't do it. So Langridge then still has that one car between himself and Will Blackwell Chambers. That was a pivotal move there for Joe Wiggin. Track position so critical here at Oulton Park, and if you see the driver in front make a mistake, you have to capitalise immediately. Joe Wiggin did that and was able then to seize the lead away. Joe won all 3 races, don't forget, at Snetterton last time out. They were his first 3 race victories ever in the MX-5 Championship. And it was the first time, I believe, all season that someone had managed to win 3 races on the bounce. He'll be looking now to try and make that 4 race victories if he can. Oh, through Lodge Corner there. Ben Short was peeking to the outside line. Blackwell Chambers tried to go up the inside, and it's actually Will that loses the most momentum. So Steve Foden now comes up alongside him to challenge for 4th place. But as soon as you pull out of the line, you hit that wall of air. You've got no slipstream assisting you along. So it's very hard actually to overtake in a straight line sometimes in these cars. You can close right onto the tail of the other car, but if you don't time the run right, that slingshot doesn't always guarantee you'll get through. Back through Cascades. It's rather stacked everyone together now though, so well, I was going to say the field have sort of concertinaed back up, but that moment for Adam Bessel will mean there's a gap behind John Langridge. Now that was interesting. John Langridge putting his thumbs up to somebody. Was it Joe Wiggin that he was gesticulating to, or was it Ben Short behind him? Either way, that tells me he's going to work with one of them. Now, he might be saying that he'll work with Joe Wiggin so as to try and pull away from the cars behind. He might have been saying that he'll work with Ben Short to try and sort of form a double attack on Joe. Let's see what happens then. Down to the Britain chicane where Langridge made that mistake a lap ago. Over the curbs. This time he's a bit neater, but Wiggin is just as quick as him off the corner, if not a little bit quicker. Weave from side to side down the hill. Ben Short in the wheel tracks of John Langridge. Not really looking likely to overtake at the moment, but he's really applying the pressure, so I'm not sure what that little thumbs up signal was for John Langridge, but we see this quite a lot in MX-5 racing, where tactical racing comes into play an awful lot, and it's a lot easier to execute an overtake if you've got some assistance from the car behind, almost NASCAR style. Get that little bump from the car behind you, that can sometimes just nudge you through past the car in front. Not usually a tactic we see deployed so successfully here at Oulton Park though, because there aren't that many straights of significant enough length. Even the straights that we do have tend to have kinks and curves in them. Rise and fall there of the run underneath the Paul Warwick Bridge into Lodge Corner. This leading group of 5 cars now. Steve Foden staying well with them. Steve's had a few decent results of late, actually. He's been, certainly through the middle part of the year, looking like a regular front runner. Yet to get a podium this year, but he's been knocking on the door a few times, a few top 5 finishes. You've got Matt Luff sort of on his own, and then this little group of 4, which is Jack Moody, Adam Bessel, Jason Graytrex, and the 55, I believe that was, of Matt Pollard, who pulled out of line on the exit of Old Hall Corner there to try and make a move down the avenue. As though heading onto the Lakeside Straight into the second half of the race now. Joe Wiggin under pressure from John Langridge, who looked as though he was going to try and pull out of line there, but opted out of that particular move. Through Ireland, you can see the speed that they carry through there. Langridge again looks to the inside at Shell. That's where he made that move on Bessel a few laps ago. So we know, he's quite good on the brakes into that corner. You can carry a lot of speed into Shell because it is so steeply banked, so that sometimes helps you to execute that move. It tends to be a bit of a block pass, but you do what you've got to do in the championship as evenly matched as this to try and get past people. Hill, good run from Ben Short there. Now, does he this time pull out to try and overtake John Langridge? Johnny's concerned that he might, so he's pulling over to the right-hand side of the road to defend over Hilltop. Does Ben Short go for it under braking? No, didn't really even seem to consider it, but he does take this much tighter line through the first part of his laps, does Ben Short. Looks for a moment as if he's going to get alongside John Langridge, but as John is now starting to become a bit more concerned with what's going on in his mirrors, so Joe Wiggin is pulling away. You can see that John only half defended into the chicane there, but that was enough for Wiggin to pull out maybe a half a second cushion, which in MX-5 Championship terms is a pretty healthy margin. Langridge, though, already starting to do something about that. The slipstream is just so significant in these cars that if you're within half a second or so of the car in front and you get onto a straight, even just the length of that straight between Druids and Lodge, that's usually enough to pull you right back onto their rear bumper. And actually sometimes that extra momentum you carry from catching the car in front at a pretty vast rate of knots can sometimes make it a bit easier to overtake. Some DC drivers sometimes deploying that tactic as well, dropping back by a few car lengths from the car in front and then trying to get the slingshot from a bit further back, but in the end the status quo remains, no change in the order as they drop down the hill. See some marshals there gathered watching on. They're marshals who are on a taster day here at Oulton Park, so people who are looking at getting into marshalling, and I thoroughly recommend you do it because it's a great way to get front row seats to this sort of racing, and club level motorsport in the UK thriving at the moment, and the quality of racing the championships like this one produce on a weekly basis almost mean that it's well worth coming along to watch, be that as a paying spectator or as a volunteer marshal. So good to see so much interest, as there always is it seems here at Oulton Park, in volunteer marshalling. A lot of smoke in the background there telling me that maybe the marshals at Shell might have something to deal with now, because someone's had a big old lockup, either a lockup or an engine issue in the background. Ollie Allwood, by the way, is still running. He's dropped now towards the back of the top 10. So the car seems to have a lack of power. I don't think it's actually broken completely, but there's something that's not quite right in Allwood's car, and so he's still going, but obviously that unfortunately cost him a chance to maybe get his first victory of the season. Ollie, I don't actually think has had a podium yet. Oh, and that's Matt Luff. Now that's what the smoke was. So Matt Luff has pulled off on the exit of the Shell hairpin. So that will be what that issue was then for Matt, who was another driver we saw running towards the front, but had faded in the middle part of the race. So the AB Motorsport car sadly out of the race. So promotes everyone behind him up one position. It doesn't affect the leading quintet though. He turned through Lodge Corner as close as ever they were. Steve Foden there, the black and gold number 77, still very much part of this scrap. It's been a bit of a stalemate situation now for a little while. Joe Wiggins seems to have this race lead covered. You get the feeling that Langridge is more concerned with holding on to second place than he is making a do-or-die move for the lead. And I remind you that if things finish as they are now, Langridge will score 100 points, Blackwell Chambers will score just 94, so Langridge will go from being 2 points behind to being 4 points in front, so he will take the championship lead. Martin Tolley now, go for it racing car. Inside of that car, looking like an advertising board in Times Square. It's full of sponsors' logos. Martin always does a good job though attracting sponsorship, and you can see why, because they get lots of screen time. Greenwood facing on board as well. That's an interesting little view. You can see Martin hard at work as he heads into Island Bend, turns the wheel sharply to the right. Now Ben Shaw's got his hand out of the cockpit because he was warning the cars behind him about the yellow flag for Matt Luff parked at the side of the road, but I think they'd all seen it anyway. So he wasn't waving Bill Blackwell Chambers through, that's for sure. Back over the hill, down the other side. John Langridge now, is he moving to the right to defend? Yes, he is, because Ben Short's got to run, and Ben Short's got his nose in front into the Hislop chicane. This is Ben's best chance yet to take second place away, but he can't do it. Langridge once again sees off the challenge, but what damage has that done for Langridge? Yes, look at the lead that Wiggin once again pulls out just from one corner of defensive driving from Langridge, but you just can't go as quickly through the turn when you go in on that tight line. Ben Short's got another run now though as they head past the water tower into Druids. They're not quite side by side there, but we've seen Ben making some overtakes into Druids earlier on in this race. Not on John Langridge though. John bounces his way through the double apex right-hander. Still in second place, but again now moves over to defend, and John most definitely now is prioritising second place over going for the race lead. Ben Short again gets his nose in front, but he just can't turn into the corner. Not quite doing enough to clear John Langridge. He's asking all of the right questions now of the number 5 car. And the more defensive driving John does, the slower he'll be out of the corners. Last lap board goes out then. One more lap of the 2.7 mile Oulton Park International Circuit to go, and Ben Short goes to the inside at Old Hall corner and goes through. Ben Short has taken second place away from Langridge, but slides onto the grass, nearly loses it right in front of the 2 championship contenders. That could have been complete calamity for John Langridge and Will Blackwell-Chambers, but miraculously it all comes out, well, they all come out the other side in one piece, and with Langridge back into second place. But fair play to Ben Short, he doesn't seem to care one bit about the fact that he's racing with our championship rivals here. He just wants to get the best result possible for him and his team, and well, that was nearly at the expense of John Langridge, but John had the presence of mind there to just cut back to the late apex, got back alongside him, kept his foot in it even when Ben Short looked like he was losing control to his left. And actually Langridge, all of a sudden, being spurred on maybe by the idea of escaping from the chaos behind him, has caught Joe Wiggins. So not under any pressure at the moment is Langridge either, so he might feel that he could give this a go. Through Britain's he goes, bounces over the curbs. That number 5 car hasn't looked quite as happy through the Britain chicane all race long, has it? That's where he lost the lead, remember, halfway through. Down the other side of Hilltop then, Blackwell-Chambers defending from Steve Foden here. Ben Short thinking about going to the inside of Langridge, and again John having to defend into his lops, not for the first time this race. And we've seen already what effect that will have on his mid-corner speed. Should now be enough to allow Joe Wiggins to pull clear. What will be happening behind him though, that's the question. Is John Langridge going to be able to fend off the BS Motorsport car of Ben Short himself? Past the water tower again into Druids. Langridge getting a whiff of a slipstream from Joe Wiggins, but again defending into Druids. As soon as you start defending into Druids, you know that you're really struggling to hang on to the place, but John's driven well in this race. Only very briefly lost this second position, and if he hangs on to it to the flag, he'll take the championship lead. There's one more corner to go though, and it's the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. Ben Short takes the wide line into Lodge corner, cuts back to the late apex, carries good speed off the turn. It's going to be a drag race to the line for second place, but Joe Wiggins is going to pick up exactly where he left off at Snetterton with a 4th consecutive win of the year. For second place, it's almost a dead heat finish, but it is Langridge that hangs on by 71 1/1000ths of a second, with Ben Short in 3rd, Blackwell-Chambers 4th, and Steve Foden 5th. It is equally close for 6th place. In fact, it is exactly equally as close, because that's 71 thousandths as well between Jack Brewer and Matt Pollard. That's remarkable stuff. Then Marcus Bailey, Jason Greatrex and Adam Bessel round out the top 10. Well, that was a fantastic conclusion to what was a tense race up until that point, but Wiggins hangs on, a 4th career victory and a 4th win in a row as well in the middle part of the season. John Langridge 2nd, then Ben Short and Will Blackwell-Chambers. So Langridge takes the points lead. Ollie Allwood finished 11th in the end, limped home with that slightly ailing car ahead of Martin Tolley and Ash Miller, with Ben Hansey and Jack Moody. Stuart French and Matt Luff were non-finishers. They will therefore be relegated along with Bruce Robinson, Tim Dorr and Will Hayden, who fell to the back late on in the race.
So that's 4 in a row now. You're making a bit of a habit of this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. That was a lot harder than Snetterton and all 3 of them, but you know, again, a testament to the team. We haven't quite got the pace, but we've got a good car underneath us, and we're able to drive through the twisty bits the right way and not run off the track, and I think that's how we won it. So I just want to say thank you to Eco Trailer, CN Signs, Tucker Motorsport and all my family for getting me here, really.
Excellent. And with the hotter weather, how are you finding the new Avon tyres?
I love them. I think they're brilliant. I'm such a shame they weren't brought in for the first round. And since we've jumped to the Avons, we've had 4 wins, so I'm not complaining. The hotter the better. And so, yeah.
You had to work quite hard for that one. How was it for you?
Hard, yeah. You were right. I did have to work quite hard. I got a bit of a ropey starting down to 4th, but the car felt so good in the early part, so we... you know, I'd really tried hard to move up, and felt a bit sorry for Ollie because he had a problem that dropped him back. But after the race, it didn't really settle down as I expected. But yeah, there was moves all the way through, so it was good fun.
It's keeping you ahead of Will Blackwell-Chambers in the points at least.
I don't think I was ahead to start. I think I was a bit behind. You know, let's look at the end of the day and let's look at the end of the year.
But going into the race, it was 6 points. So you think you're going to get them by the end of the season?
Let's try, eh? Yeah, why not?
So finishing 3rd overall, it was a good race for you at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, that was all right. Really got to sort qualifying out. Qualified 10th, so really disappointed in that. And by the time you sort of get towards the front boys, you've kind of taken the best out of the car, really. But just the same as last time, we're starting third now in the next race, so we've got a much better shout at having a bit of a better result, because third's getting a bit boring.
So the days seems to be getting hotter. You think it's going to affect the cars and the setups much?
Oh yeah, massively. I don't think you'll see the lap times from quali in race 1 for the rest of today. The track gets hotter, it'll get slower, the cars start to feel a bit asthmatic as the air temperature goes up. So, and then it's going to be about managing the tyres and not overheating the tyres, really, I would imagine. So we'll find out shortly, won't we?
So you're looking forward to race 3 then?
Yeah, definitely looking forward to race 2 and see how it goes from there.